Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here, and today we are jumping into Graze Counter GM once again. I'm sharing my unlimited extreme 1cc today. I decided not to do commentary for my unlimited original and unlimited hard, mainly because this is the one I want to share the most and just chat about. But I will include links for non-commentary versions of those other modes in the description of this video in case you want to use that for just like guide purposes, just seeing how things are approached or whatever else. So yeah, anyway, I spoke with a couple people about something I noticed. Pretty much anytime you are outside of standard original, like, so let's say you're tackling standard hard, standard extreme, unlimited, original, hard, or extreme, what I noticed was that the stage 1 in any of those is extremely misleading. It will, for me anyway, and I know others had the same experience, it will feel just insanely challenging, like almost to the point where like you can barely get through the first stage without losing a life. But what I noticed was that when I would finally, like, I would do a bunch of restarts just to ensure that I made it through without losing a life for an actual reasonable attempt, I would notice that something would just click and you could pretty much do the rest of the run no problem, like first attempt or whatever. And I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen that before in a shmup. When I think about some of the very difficult shmups on hard difficulties and whatnot, like some of the like hardest modes you can do in those games, I've never once encountered that sort of thing. Usually the first stage or two, even on like expert modes and stuff like that, is a breeze. And so I'm really baffled to experience that in this game for the first time. So that was interesting. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many, like, I'm not sure which mode it was, but sometimes it felt like I would do 15 or 20 attempts until I finally missed the first stage, and then it was just boom, cleared right after that. So yeah, it's really, really cool just to see these different kind of things that can have you thinking, oh, the whole run is going to be just as hard as this stage or harder, but that's actually not the case. But what's interesting about that is you kind of have these illusions that just come up because of just your first experience with the first few minutes of a game, even though it's not actually an accurate representation of what the full run's going to be like. So anyway, for the most part, you approach, or at least I approached every single mode and difficulty the same way. Even with the suicide bullets in unlimited modes, like whether you're doing original, or novice, original, hard, or extreme, I didn't find the suicide bullets to really pose any sort of additional threat. So that was interesting. All in all, the game, as I've mentioned in some of the other Graze Counter GM videos, the game gives you such a great deal of stuff to work with that you're more or less almost never in a situation where there isn't something you can do or something you can choose based on what you're receiving, whether it's like items you can choose or an opportunity to just fill a gauge before you need it again. It's very generous, very forgiving in that sense. And even though it didn't challenge me in the way some games do, because I mean, I went through pretty much, like, I did everything you could do except novice modes. So the boss rush and the extra stage, those two are probably the hardest things in this whole game. But I did all of that stuff within, I think, 2 days of having the game. So in that sense, it's not like it was like a game where you're putting weeks into this. But even though it wasn't living up to that kind of difficulty or experience, there is something incredibly refreshing and fun about just jumping into this and just ripping through entire sheets of enemy projectiles. It's just a blast. I absolutely love this game. It's so, so cool. And I feel like the mechanics that they give you to work with, it just works so wonderfully together. Like, everything about this is just fantastic. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, if you haven't checked out the boss rush and extra stage, please check those out, because those are over the top wild. Some of those took me hours to finally clear. That may not sound like a lot, but when the boss rush, I think, is only 9 minutes, and it takes that long, that's saying something. Especially because the rest of this game, all the other modes and everything, are just, yeah, not really so crazy. And then you jump into those other things, and holy smokes, they are just wild. Oh, so yeah, anyway, I'm gonna be sipping away at a little drink here. Just so that I don't have a dry throat as I chat away. It's some kind of organic carbonated beverage, like a cherry beverage of some sort. I haven't even sipped it yet, but it smells really nice. I love that spray, the pink and white pills or whatever it's shooting out. That's so cool. If there's one thing I love about extreme mode, it's just how dense everything is. You go from just having like 1 to 3 lines of shots from an enemy or something, and then you just suddenly have like full sections of screen just filled with bullets coming at you. It's just incredible. Now, one thing I did notice is that some of the achievements, unless I'm missing something, some of the achievements have not unlocked, even though I've done them. Like for instance, one of them is just like, oh, beat the stage 5 boss, which I've done numerous times now in the different modes, and yet it's still showing a question mark as if like, oh, you haven't done this yet. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but I'm not too concerned because I don't really care about that kind of stuff generally. It's neat to see what kind of stuff they include, but yeah, I don't really pay too much attention. I'm more or less in it for the runs and just all that. But at the same time, it's cool when they add that kind of stuff, because if it does encourage someone to do something different, then that's fine too, like the pacifist mode, for instance. And the music in this is fantastic too. Oh man. I'm so thankful for that 1-up. Oh, it's funny because I haven't even done any of the alternate routes yet, like the stages. I've always chosen the water level and then the cloud level. I think it'd be sweet if they had more, like maybe 3 options, 2 or 3 times. That would be interesting. I think what I will do is I'll actually still play this a little more and just do some of those other stages. Of course, I've seen all the bosses because I have done the boss rush now, so I know how they fight and all that. But as for how the levels themselves look, sound, and feel, I have no clue. I just have one little picture and the name of the place to go off of, since you see that when you're able to choose. So that's exciting to think about. Things to explore. But this level is fantastic, easily one of my favorites. I just love these huge red ships with the turrets on the top. And the explosions are done fantastic, and yeah, honestly, everything about this game is just great. Just all the different types of attacks you got to deal with in the tight spaces, and just always attempting to stay on top of your meters, just being topped up and whatnot. It's so good. That's sometimes a dangerous part for me, because, well, I think some of the first few times I would be here anyway, you don't realize, oh, okay, a wave of these insect ships are going to be coming right up the side, right below you, and then that you just run into them. But yeah. I think part of what makes the mechanics so much fun to play with is just the fact that it's just very, like, there's just something very rewarding feeling about the mix of canceling out bullets as you're doing all this damage, and you're just collecting huge amounts of these gold stars. Like, it's just three things. Oh, and the fact that you're shielded while you're doing it too. So it's, yeah, four things that just kind of give you this sense of, yeah, I'm not sure the word, like, just, you can kind of just like blast your way up into, you can kind of like thrust yourself into these huge clouds of enemy shots. And I always like that kind of stuff, when you can kind of just push into stuff, create some breathing room, and then tuck yourself back a little bit to where you were. So yeah, as you can see, even with taking, I haven't been keeping track of how many lives we've lost this run so far, but as you can see, we're at 12. So that's what I mean when I say, like, even though this may look like a really crazy difficulty, like, we are not hurting at all. We're doing just fine. That's more than enough lives to just kind of coast the rest of the way. The afternoon sun. I love that scene right there. So cool. Oh man, just the chaos. So good. It's so wild. Like, it looks absolutely insane, but because of the tools you have, it's not a big deal. But it's still such a good time. I love it. I am very, very intrigued to see what they do next, like in terms of their next game. Oh my god. I love this part too. This is an incredible part, because they more or less have it so that you're always going to push to the side to create some space, and then you're going to be moving back while the bullets are chasing you, and that's a perfect opportunity to just charge, just stay right at the edge of the bullet field as it's moving. It's just a really satisfying and fun section for me. One thing I actually haven't unlocked yet is the mini game. I think it's called Laser Maiden 2. I'm not sure what the condition is. I've read somewhere that you just need to clear one of the modes with some character or some type of character. But because I haven't really played with more than 2 or 3 ships for everything I've done so far, if that is the condition, then that's probably why. But I'm not too concerned. I'll get to it when I do, or just not bother. We'll see. The presentation in this game is fantastic. I love sections like this where you come out of the clouds and we're just here up in space now. And you can see the planet below. There are a number of games that do similar things that are just fantastic. This will always be one of my favorite bosses in this game. Just the sheer size, the sheer amount of bullets this thing fires off during its lifespan here. It's just over the top, like... Oh my god, so cool. Oh my god. Some silly hits here and there, but it really isn't a concern. You just don't want that to increase too much because the final fight is pretty chaotic still. Oh my god, like just look at all of this. This is just crazy. So we're sitting at 10 lives. And here we go. To be honest, this game is so fun that if they had it as a... If they had like another stage or two, or just some sort of TLB or just something to make it an extra 10 minutes or so, that would be totally fine with me. I think I would just... It's the kind of thing, like, I'm not crazy about... Generally speaking anyway, I'm not crazy about games that are so long, like when it comes to arcade shooters. But when you stumble upon one that you enjoy as much as I enjoyed this one, you don't care if it was double the length, because the time just goes by so quickly. And that really speaks volumes about just what they have pulled off with this game, what they have created, just the unique experience, the very engaging and satisfying and fun gameplay. It's the same with Barrage Fantasia. That is just such an incredible game. Oh. Man, those laser squares or cubes, laser cubes. That's one of the things that has just gotten me the most in this game. And just the sheer amount of, like, just things flying every which way, and you're not even paying attention to what is what. You're just flying all over the place in an attempt to just not get hit, but you still... and then things like that, like, holy smokes. And just like that, we're down to 3 lives. Like, what? But we pulled it off, and what a wild time that is. So yeah, if you haven't played this game, but it looks like an absolute blast, it certainly is. Definitely feel free to check it out. It's just so good. I really like it. But anyway, let's close this out for now. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the support. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, favorite parts or whatever you feel like sharing. And yeah, have an awesome day. Thank you so much again, and we will see you next time.